So there's 5 things that you need to know about child custody and father's rights. If you're in a situation of going through a divorce, a separation, you don't really know what's happening, you're getting threats against you, and especially if you have had false allegations against you in any way, shape, or form. That's domestic violence, that's child abuse, that's sexual, that's violent, anything like that, any threat of that, you got to do these 5 things.
Do you allege that Steve has ever committed child abuse?
Number 1 is your strategy is to win.
I think you're not taking into consideration the well-being of my children. I think that's being vindictive.
No, I don't think you're taking into consideration the well-being of your children.
Look, if you're desperate, if you're disenfranchised, if you're hurt, you don't know what to do, your back is against the wall, you've never thought you've been in this situation, especially as a man, you have to start thinking right now, how can I win this? How can I definitively win this? How can I do this for myself, my future, and my kids? The decisions that are decided in this moment, in the aftermath of all of this, are going to affect your life dramatically. They're going to affect your finances, but most importantly, they are going to affect your kids' lives, everything about them. You have to win. Now, this brings us to the second thing is you have to win in the courts. I don't want you to win on social media. I don't want you to win between friends and family. I don't want you to win in some sort of argument against her. I want you to win in the courts, and this is really important.
Do you think being intoxicated around your children while you're caring for them is in their best interest?
I don't think it affects.
So you would say that it is in their best interest or it's not in their best interest?
The decisions that are made in the courts, the rulings that are made in the courts are going to stick for the longest period of time. They are going to define everything. I don't care if right now you want to win an argument. I don't care if you want to convince the person in front of you, whatever it is you're trying to convince them. I want you to convince a judge, have that judge put it on paper. I want them to sign it, and I want that to define your alimony, your child support, your custody arrangements, all the different things that are massively going to affect your life. If you get one thing wrong in that, if you pay $100 more a month than you need to, that is going to equate to thousands, like $30,000 or $50,000 more throughout the course of the next 15, 18, 12 years. In addition to that, it's going to set up the model and definition for you to live a better life, be a better parent, and get things squared away. You need to win in the courts.
And do you know that I could go up to the courthouse while your lawyer's taking care of his other case, and I could get a temporary restraining order not allowing you to see your children for at least 14 days based on your testimony?
No, I didn't know that.
What do you think about that?
Now, in order to do that, you need to get number 3, you need to know how the law works. The law doesn't work from your gossip, from your posts, from how many friends agree with you. The law works by a certain language that is spoken through evidence, through a timeline, through a process of talking to lawyers, or if you decide to go pro se, which I do not recommend. You need to understand how to put that all together so that a judge can read it, so a court can respect you. I can't tell you how many fathers I talk to and tell me their stories, and all they do is complain about how they lost. When I look over their case, when I look over what was presented in front of the courts, you put the courts in a position where they could not make a decision and they had to react to you. Why would you do that for your kids' lives? Why would you do that for your future? Why would you take one of the most important days that is going to define so much and let somebody roll the dice with you? It was because you did not learn how the law works, what determines custody, what determines alimony. How do you argue that? How do you argue parental alienation? How do you go in front of a judge and have the best possible chance for them to rule in front of you? These are all things that you can learn right now. People can help you with that. I would recommend that you learn how to find a lawyer and you choose the right one, but if you need to do it yourself, you can. There are resources out there that are really easy to ignore when you just talk about how unfair the world is. So one of the best ways to do that is to learn how to hire a lawyer, to find the right lawyer, to vet the right lawyers. You can also hire coaches on this to help guide you. You can also hire paralegals, but you are going to have to learn how the law works. And that's really difficult when you're going through a traumatic time, like you're being blamed for abusing your kids when you didn't. The fourth thing is you need to shift your perspective into action right now. And I want to make this clear. We talked about it in point 2, but this is really important. Every single decision that you make now, every single thing that a court decides on right now is going to affect you massively for the rest of your life. So your future, meaning your perspective of self, your relationship with your body, your relationship with your mind, most importantly, your relationship with your kids, is going to be defined and made either easier or harder on what gets decided by the law. Now, because your life is affected, guess what? Your kid's life is affected, and it's going to be affected the most. If you have a protective order against you and you don't know how to fight it, if you have somebody threatening you with false claims and you don't know how to fight it, your child's life is going to be massively affected. Think about the difference of your child and how you interact with them now, or how you interacted with them a couple months ago when things were going good. Think about that and him or her being told over and over again by friends and family that a court ruling was made that you were an abuser, that their dad is a horrible person and they don't get to see them. Think about how their life is shaped by that. Think about how your relationship has to be rebuilt from that. Think about what a son or a daughter, or sons and daughters' lives are like without a father figure, and that father figure is hated. Think about, on top of that, if you have to pay an excess of alimony, child support, and so on, so you can't get your head above water. Think about if you get tied up in court case after court case because initially you did not learn how to defend yourself, and you have 3 to 5 terrible years of your life. Fast forward, you're older by 3 to 5 years, you've had the crap beaten out of you by the court system, and you're trying to start over. It's just way harder. Every single decision that gets made now is dependent upon you acting now in the right ways to win in the courts. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been telling men the same message, and I really think you should start listening to me, which gets you to the 5th point. You need to stop listening to men's rights. You need to stop listening to the red pill. You need to stop listening to the male victimization that you're seeing online. If you're coming across this video, more than likely you've seen it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are probably good red pill, men's coaches, men's rights things and perspectives that might be important to you a little bit later, but while you're in a court case, that's not the case. I have been doing this longer than most of them. For nearly 20 years, I've been coaching men on this exact problem. And I just want to put a couple things in perspective. I know a lot of the red pill coaches out there. I saw the movement start. I know a lot of the men's rights coaches out there. I saw that movement start. Guess how many of them have products on how to help with men's problems in the modern world? These problems are: number 1, divorce and custody, men getting screwed over in the court system. 0. None of these men, none of these guys who live, eat, and breathe for you, for men's rights, have made something where they've interviewed a lawyer, looked at how the court system works, analyzed it, talked to different judges, helped men win their cases. Instead, they've sent a message of victimization saying that it doesn't work. I get that it's hard. If you know my story, it's hard. In 2012, I lost my kids. I didn't see them for 5 years. I wore the crown and title of being called a child abuser. Later on, that was reversed. 8 years later, that was reversed. I came back and dominated in my next case. Man, I changed my life in huge ways. Not only in coaching men in divorce and custody, I've helped men with addiction, with dating, with sex issues, trauma, PTSD, veterans. I have sat by the side of men while they were dying, saying, "Steve, I'm dying. Can you please help me? I wish I would have listened to you." And on the flip side of that, I know that pain. I've walked with it. It is more than 1, 2, 3 people that's happened to, and it's so sad to say. I don't know any other coaches that have done that. And on the flip side of that, I know men who have come from a hard time. They've listened to me, they've rebuilt their lives. They've done everything different to start a new company, start a new career, live abroad, have new relationships, have amazing relationships with their kids. And every single one of those guys also said the same thing. I'm glad I started listening to you. I'm glad I started taking action. And I'm glad that I stopped listening to the mountain of BS out there for men. If you are going through this right now, man, I've put this in a package easy for you. Number one, there's a community, and I would do that first. I do 30 of 40 hours of calls a week. I do not have time to take free calls. I know you guys email me, and my heart goes out to you. I wish I could help you all. But the fact of the matter is if you sign up for my community, you'll get to talk to me minimum 8 hours a week. Now, those are group calls, but we tackle everything. And you want to be in the group because there's guys who have done the same thing as you in that group. So not only me, there's other guys who have gone through this process. They've learned to do a lot themselves. They've learned how to hire the right lawyers. Some didn't have money for that, and they learned how to win it and beat it, or they learned how to cope with the massive problems that go in with it. In addition to that, there's divorce and custody, there's survival guide for men. It's a 4-part video series. You do the exercises in that. It's going to lay out exactly what you need to take to a lawyer or what you need to put in front of a judge if you're going pro se. But again, I wouldn't recommend that. I would really, really recommend selling everything that you own to be able to get the right attorney for you and learn how to pick an attorney. In addition to all of that, it's going to tell you how to rebuild your life. There's products on there and communities to help you get a better job, start a business, to talk to different people about investing and so on, but to get yourself squared away. This is not an easy road. It is very hard. There are ups and downs for long periods of time. I've been coaching men, like I said, for a long time. I can say what other men's coaches cannot say. I have led people to extreme revolutions of their lives, to much, much better lives, but I've also sat there with the epitome of male pain and done my best to try and solve it, done my best to try and help it, and sometimes I see that pain move into death. I can tell you that I do this out of love for humanity, out of love for myself, out of love for men and women. This is a huge thing and it's a hard job. This is the best place you can start with it. That community is the Rising Man community. It is listed down below. And if you need help, it's not only going to help you, but if you're in a divorce and custody situation, it's going to save you tens of thousands of dollars. Literally, it will. On that note, gentlemen, I am out of here. I have tons and tons of videos on YouTube breaking down every single issue man can have. Why? Because for the last 20 years, I've been working with communities. I built a community, the longest running online community of men seeking a solution for men's problems in this modern world. Stay strong, do good, and be a good father. Your kids deserve it.